Okay, so Baruch Hashem, we are not learning this week in Shirat David. I was there, but we had a zimun for Birkas Hamazon, but not for the minyan. Baruch Hashem. So we are now this situation learning in my holy home. Even have my Eshes Chal, my soulmate, right nearby, and we're learning Likutei Halachos. And Baruch Hashem, my holy brother Zach is on the phone, so we've got Kavir, so we're keeping it going. And it says here we've been talking about. It was quite intense, if you remember last week, and was very in tune with this parsha actually, Parsha's B'Shalach of us. I mean Bo as well, because it talks about in Likutei Maharan, because we're learning Rabbi Nachman's Talmud Svarim Likutei Halachos. Rabbi Nachman ben Feigen, Nachman ben Simcha talks about Likutei Maharan about Bo Paro, like the whole last week's parsha. So it's also appropriate is going into the Chalal Panui, going to this place where there exists seemingly. Space. It's not obviously a real Metzias, but it feels that way to us human beings, that we're in a halal, a mokum where the kav, the light of Hashem is not shining in its full brightness, and therefore we're not fully aligned. And especially when you're coming in front of someone like Paro, his whole essence is to do with kafira, to be against Hashem. That's what he was, Peira. Paro is Loshen Peira, evil mouth. He wasn't, Oref, someone whose Oref is turning his back to Hashem. So Oref is the neck. So he was someone at the back of the neck. So he was someone who was going against Hashem in his whole essence, and that's why the whole Kavod Lev Paro we learned last week is needed to be sorted out. It's a lot to do. Once again, when you're learning Rabbi Nachman's Torahs, you're talking about the heart level, Baser Lev. And now we're learning Likutei Halachos in the flow of this Gaba Ka'ari, that we got to wake up every morning like a lion. So we said last week we got to be Gaba on the Yetzer Hara. We got to be real. And thank God, I don't know if you heard him speak at all, but we just had a Breslov in the shul, special family, the House of Lev. Akiva Nachman spoke very much from the heart, and it was very real, very very much what is needed right now for this generation. And we continued that last night for Brengen. I was just going over in my mind all the different parts of the discussions we had last night with the Chevra. So if you ever want to come on a Sunday night, next 2 weeks I might not be around, but I think it still will go on in some way. But Gedalia will actually be here in 2 weeks from now, from Sunday night. So Baruch Hashem, we're going to have the opportunity to connect to the Kav and to reconnect and line ourselves more and more. The more we learn, the more we are real with ourselves, and especially on the heart level, which is where the most work needs to be done. So that's why Breslov is called Baser Lev. It's all about fixing up the Basari, which is Osius Rashbi, which is also the Otis of Beresh Gilei, which is the Unkelus in this week's parsha, where it says Biyad Ramah, the Unkelus says Beresh Gilei, which is Osius Rashbi or Basari. They have to work on that heart of flesh to bring more panemius, to reveal more the inner truths of who we are. So he says here in Likutei Halachos, Ki sarech la'avod et shnei yitzirin, for one must serve Hashem with both his inclinations. So this is a very famous Torah, brought down with the idea of the Sfas Emes, of that we have two hearts, the levavcha, two bases in the word levavcha. We say in Kriya Shema and Vayim Shema, it says levavcha, levavchem. It's double base, because the idea is that there's two, as the Tanya brings down, two sides of the heart, the right side and the left side, the Yetzer Tov, the Yetzer Hara. So we have to serve Hashem with both inclinations. Ve'emes im hayideh odom yediyah belev shalom shemoile kol haaretz kavodo. In truth, if a person would know that his whole heart, that the whole world is filled with Hashem's glory, then the pathway for his intellect would never be blocked, and he would not succumb to heresy, which is what we were saying. That's the Nisoyan of Paro. And we read this pasuk in Yeshaya every year on Parshas Yisro, which is next week's parsha, and it says the whole world is filled with his glory. That's a famous pasuk, and the reason why Dafka next week is such a high haftorah, because it's Kabbalas Torah on the Kriya. The Kabbalas Torah, the Kesiva of the actual Lamaisa, the Zman, is going to be in Shavuos. But that's the prophecy of Yecheskel, the prophet of the Makava and the revelation of the Malachim with 4 wings. By Yeshaya, it's 6 wings, and it's the pasuk we say is the whole world is filled with his glory. a certain shlema, a certain gilui, a revelation that happens in a higher way, these parshas of Shovavim, which is where we're at now, and we're already now in the second half of Shovavim, because we already had Shmos, V'yera, Bo. Now we're already by B'shalach, and next week is going to be Yisro and Mishpatim. So we're already in this realm of clarification of more and more, deeper and deeper, after the 10 Makkahs have been done in Mitzrayim, and then all the miracles Hashem did by the Yam Suf. By the time we get to Kabbalas Torah next week, we're already now in a state where we're ready to receive the 10 Commandments, the Esadibris, and we're able to receive, and it goes, the most important part, once again, is it goes on our heart. Luchas libecha. There's two luchas, two sides of the heart, like there's two luchas of the Esadibris, the 10 Commandments, and we're meant to internalize, Rav Sodek talks about those two luchas into our heart, and we're meant to make a place for Hashem in our heart. So then there is no chalal panoi, there's no space or any alternative way of understanding Hashem's oneness. There's only Hashem Echad. That's the true reality. And the stronger that we have this with our whole heart, says Rabbi Nosson, then we understand that the whole world is filled with this glory, then we won't have any of this heresy. So that's why Rabbi Moshe Wolfson, many years back, said once, I heard him say this, that if you learn Kabbalah, you learn Penimis Torah like Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nosson, you learn the Arizal, you learn the Kisvei, you learn the Zohar, you learn Tanya, you learn all the Svarim that we learn. If you learn these Svarim, or at least they quote them, then you get the opportunity to have achrayut, responsibility, because it gives you such an intense revelation of Hashem's oneness and truth of reality that you feel responsible to that, and therefore you won't end up falling into heretical thoughts or, God forbid, serving other things. So it says here, Vaita, V'Akadosh Baruch Hu omed b'shasa tefillah u'mishameh tefillah. The extent of his awareness of Hashem's immanence is reflected in one's conduct during prayer. If one knew and internalized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he stands over him when he davens and listens to every single word of his prayer, V'adai hai mispalo hislavas godol v'hai midaktik ma'od lechavin etz hadavarav. He would surely pray with great fervor and be extremely meticulous about concentrating on his words. V'shil she'odem eini yadeh zois yedir b'leiv shalom. Believe shalom, he says. But in the general person does not know this whole heart with his whole heart. Yeah, we're not knowing it. This is the problem. We're not in this state of awareness where we see how Hashem is completely interested in our tefillahs in the full sense, and he feels everything, and everything's coming through Hashem, and we'll be so careful to daven every word of kavanah. But since most of us, in general, does not know this wholeheartedly, on account of this, he's neither all that inspired nor all that meticulous. Yeah, like if I don't know, what would you say to you? What gets you excited? What gets you focused and in your zone? Everyone has their things, like where you zone in and you're fully in that experience. So that's the kind of level. I mean, that's really true life, honestly. But that's the kind of level that we should aim for in Yiddishkeit, in serving Hashem, davening, and just in just everyday life of understanding how Hashem fills the world, and we're in such a level. But the tzaddikim are realistic that we're generally not going to be in that state majority of the time. It's only going to come as special moments, gifts from Hashem, or after a lot of avoda that we get to that good moment of zoning in on really what it's all about. And those moments are very precious. So a lot of the time, unfortunately, we're in a space where we are not aligned, and we feel we're not on the kav, and we feel open to these other ways of thinking that could take us away from our deep relationship with Hashem and our deep kind of tefillah that's medaktik, that's clear and connected and one. Because a lot of the bilbalim we go through in tefillah, the confusion is because we're not clear on who we're davening to and his ability to do everything for us. If we would have that clear, you have to know who you're standing in front of. Yeah, you have to know, as it says in many shuls, old school shuls they have on the Aaron Kodesh, know who you're standing in front of. If you really have that knowledge clear, so then it's a whole nother level. And das is really the point, to have das. So it's internalized, it's deep, and it goes all the way into your heart, not just into your mind, not just intellectually, but you're actually experiencing it. And all of this issues from the concealment of knowledge of Hashem's immanence. From the concept of machlochet. Yeah, machlochet is an interesting word. Yeah, it has in it the words chelik and mace. Yeah, the idea of death and portioning off, dividing up things. So here he says, Rabbi Nachman says, chelik libam. You're dividing up, your heart is chalak, which refers to dispute in a person's heart caused by the ascending power. His heart is chalak, means divided. It's a pasuk in Hoshea. So the idea that we have a chalak, a division, we have two hearts rather than one united heart. And this is an issue. I'm just going to see if there's any interesting notes underneath. The idea of having mochin dekatnus, we've been talking about this, and the last time we were learning, that mochin dekatnus is not just a concept of greater consciousness, but it's a level where it actually impacts your heart. That's the root. Okay, I think we lost the call for a second. Let's phone back. Very good. Hello? Yeah. No, it's all good. So we were just saying about the consciousness concept of being able to really have large consciousness will impact not just your mind but your heart. This is what we're trying to get to. The Prophet Hashem, when we mention him now, about dividing up the heart, speaks of the idol-worshipping Jews whose hearts were divided against Hashem. Rabbi Nachman teaches that his division stems from conflict within the heart. So this is something we have to really become more dispute between one's good inclination and his evil counterpart. When a person's heart is halak, divided between devotion to Hashem and yielding to his evil inclination, his inner machloket indicates an absence of this deep spiritual knowledge, thus an inability to answer the personal heresies that plague his heart and distancing from Hashem. So look, there's nothing more important than this kind of Torah, because in our generation, the evil inclination, the other side, is making us all a bit nuts with all this false information or overload of information and access to information, and it's not helping us with our Emuna Pshuta. This is what was so interesting with this House of Lev guy, Kiva Nachman, is that he was very simple in his Emuna, in his journey to Hashem, and that's something very pure, very clear. Like when everyone asked him about Israel, the status quo, political stuff, he just said he's like, as one of the guys said, I think Arya said, he's in a state of bittul, like he's not tuning into that. He's not giving it airtime. He's like, I listened to a shir today, that a lot of the stuff that we're tuning into, we don't actually have to tune into. We don't have to watch people's statuses who are showing off, or Instagram, or any of that stuff. We don't have to go into that realm. Like when I go on it, I really just want to post and ghost. Like I just want to get it out there and really not look, unless it's one of my people I work with. I don't really want to know anyone else what they're up to, because it usually creates a billable confusion in me. I don't know if you get that, but it does that to me, and I don't see any point in therefore, spending time on those statuses and all this stuff. I mean, if people are looking at my status, I try make sure that if they are giving time to it, that it should be Torah content or inspirational, no politics, always trying to bring people to a good headspace. I take responsibility, as I said, achrayut. I try to be responsible for the kind of energy I bring to the world. I need to work on it more with, today with Shabbaton Efrat, we didn't have a minyan, so I was a little bit, it was painful. I felt in pain that people didn't come, and by the time one or two came, it was already too late, and we lost the minyan, and it was hard to be b'simcha in that. The one guy said, though, we did our shtadlis, and we tried to make, we did the right thing, and it's not our responsibility. And he's true what he's saying, but it was my responsibility to feel a little bit of the pain, and not to express it so much maybe to anyone else, but then to be able to express it in a clear way to people that we do need to machazik the minyan, because we need to have a minyan. It's important. When 10 years didn't get together, the power is so big. Last night for Bregan, where we're just making lachaims and talking amongst friends, we had a minyan at one point, and you felt the shechina, you felt the energy level go up once there's just 10 men, and it's a powerful thing. We should always try to daven to be zoch to a minyan, and to make the efforts to be at a minyan. It's a big thing. So I just want to quote something a little bit before we carry on. Rabbi Nachman from Gedalia, just to get some chizuk. He says this concept called sneaky blessings. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's the idea of blessings in disguise. So it's on page 273 in his new Sefer Surrender, which he will be book signing at all his events, and he'll be giving out or signing or selling. So it says here with Pomerantz and everyone else, due to the limitation of your reality, some of your best friends can only enter incognito. In fact, the really big ones sometimes sneak through disguised as ugly monsters and vicious enemies. Otherwise, the guards at the gate would never let them in. There are the events optimists called blessings in disguise. So we all understand not good things coming in disguise, but there's the other way around. Midnightrabbi Ruba, there's the optimist understands that there's things coming, blessings in disguise. These events expand your mind, that we're learning now, expanding your mind, getting a higher consciousness in your heart and your soul, expand your world, fire the guards, and perhaps these blessings won't need such a bizarre entrance anymore. So that's from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, bringing heaven down to earth, which is actually, when I was before I married my wife, and I was by my brother-in-law to be's house, that was the first book he ever gave me, other than Messiah Sharm. I looked at the bringing heaven down to earth. And that was a very powerful book that I read in my family to be's home. A seed for growth. Not every blessing enters your life with a smile. Some arrive wrapped in confusion, pain, or delay. But that doesn't mean they aren't gifts. Yeah, I've been trying to get something done with Sholem Lemma for months. Yeah, maybe I don't even remember how long it's been. It's like a whole big story of bookings. Baruch Hashem, it has grown into a larger story, so that's already part of the blessing. There's a doubled up the booking, but I was talking to him. He was on the plane today. He obviously has WhatsApp on the plane, and he was flying to New York. So he was a little bit nervous, with the conditions that he's flying into. But I was talking to him, and I was saying, like, are we going to get this done? And he's like, yeah. He totally wants to sort it out. But as Hashem, it will. But it's all going to happen exactly in the right time. Have a good night. It's all going to happen exactly in a good time. And it's just about patience. It really is. And not to allow, when things get delayed, to get angry or to lose, focus. I was at the end. I was like just wishing him a safe trip, because I know like he's flying into like a snowstorm or whatever's going on over there right now. When you expand your heart and trust that even the struggle might carry light, you begin to see what was hidden all along. The moment you stop guarding the door, healing and miracles walk through. The blessings shake you often become the blessings that shape you. Yeah, that's a good line from Gedalia. He's very clever with words. He says, the blessings that shake you often become the blessings that shape you. So you turn the K into a P. So blessings that shake you become shape you. It's all about growth. It's all about development. And, it's one of the things I'm excited to see him. I had a chat with him yesterday on the way to the Farbrengen. And, he's positive, Baruch Hashem. Like, he has a lot on, and there's a lot of people reaching out. And he says he wants to do for Am Yisrael. So he wants to do as much as he can. But when I asked him, I said, so Lamaisa, you have more time to like do another podcast or whatever, because people are asking. He said no. He said he really doesn't. But if he could, he would. And he is already maximizing his time, because he knows he said that's what I'm in the world for. Like, I'm coming to Israel to maximize my time and not just, sit by a beach or by a pool. I don't know if that's the time of year, but you know what I mean. He's not on holiday. He's busy. So there's this kind of a voter. And the second point with him was also that he's very much he's trusting in the people that he's chosen to help him, like, for example, myself. So he's given me pretty much free reign to run the events and get them all hopefully successful. We just had some new videos put out to promote the Jerusalem one. We still need to sell like almost half more tickets, so there's what to be done. But his headspace is, I always sell out last minute. So he's not worried about it. So if he's not worried, then that rubs off for me. So I'm not worried. So that's why it's good when you have someone you're working with who's leading the story, has a good headspace. It rubs off on you, and that's what we need to work on ourselves as fathers and husbands. I mean, my wife just left now, so I can say this honestly. That I'm going through a little bit of a struggle financially. I'll be straight, but not because I'm doing it overspending or anything like that. Thank God I don't have any debts or anything. I'm in a very blessed place in that respect. But I'm not bringing the when you have on your bank statements, I showed you how much coming in, how much is going out. So much more is going out than's coming in right now, way more. And it's just because the booking slowed down or whatever. The world's going through its chaos. Or I can't exactly explain it. It seems a bit beyond the natural flow of things, because I usually always have stuff going on, and I have the Gedalia event coming up, but that's that's more of a non-profit helping Am Yisrael a mitzvah, like having a House of Lev. It wasn't even a money thing. So it's these kind of things is trying to just tune into the place where Hashem's going to sneak in the blessing and bring the bracha, and to be patient. And all these advice, these real things are so real that if you could just live this way and lead with that joy and that emuna that it's going to work out, that's the right way of being. Not that I'm always there, but you try, and you learn about it. By learning about it, gives you the strength a little bit more to make that choice, to lead with Emuna, to lead with joy, to lead with an awareness that Hashem is filling up the whole of creation and is going to bless you and give you what you need in the right time and place. So it goes on weiter with Likutei Halachos, and we'll do another few more minutes in Zel. This relates to the question that arises because the pathways of the intellect have become blocked. You hear that? It's so beautiful. He says the problem is it divides his heart to the point he does not know how to respond to the heresy in his own heart. See, that's why it's so much, when we learned that whole last week thing about answering up the apikosis, the real issue is the apikosis within each of us, the heart level inside of us. He's bringing it inward into our own hearts. Not to, you have to go now debate some famous atheist or whatever. You have to work on the heart level yourself. He says that the remedy to this machlokas in the heart is by studying the rulings of the Jewish law. And that cite the dispute between the various legal authorities and come to a clear conclusion. 7, he says down here, the division of a person's heart is rooted in disputes of holiness, namely disputes of Tanaim and Marayim, according to Gemara. Uncertainty how Hashem wants the disputed law leaves one's inclination a way to undermine and not only dispute the holiness, but even the foundation in himself. That's why one tzaddik once said, and I'll quote, this is something people need to hear, majority of the Torah is halak, is not divided, but halak is smooth, is pashut. The idea of the Shulchan Aruch is to lay it out clear, and the pshat is poshet, is clear. A majority of, if you would take Shulchan Aruch and go through it in a more like Kitzur way, like the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch itself, you would realize the majority of Torah mitzvahs is clear. That you know what you have to do when you wake up. Modani, you need to do Natilas Yadayim. You need to now say Birkas Hashach. Each thing, clean your body. You need to do. There's so much to do that's clear. It's only very small moments that are machlokas that you have to now go and learn a sugi or ask a rav. So what we do, we get all caught up with the disputes. But the real thing is we have to keep ourselves with the clarity, with where yes is clear, and be with that. It's a very good advice, I think, and a lot of people in Yiddishkeit would have much more joy if they would just live the pshat of Yiddishkeit and just enjoy it more as a simple, clear path to serving Hashem rather than overcomplicating it. By studying disputes of the sages and how these disputes are resolved as rulings of Jewish law, one fosters inner peace. So there obviously is room to go delve into the Talmud and the Halacha and the Poskim, and it's a very big mitzvah, a very holy thing to do, and to clarify. It brings it down a lot of kedusha, a lot of rachim, a lot of mercy, a lot of good to the world. But it also, for ourselves, it gives us a certain yeshiva das, peace of mind. The dat he acquires in learning to distinguish between prohibited and permitted, kosher and unkosher, pure and impure, eliminates the machlokas that divides and plagues his heart with conflict. For a more extensive explanation, you can go look up the Rebbe's Torah talks about this more later on. Okay, weiter. So then when he says about what to answer an apikosis, he says that that's a famous concept from Pirkei Avos. We learned about it, number 2:14, that shalom, peace, is a acrostic of v'yeda ma she'tashiv le'apikosis. So it has in it the vav, the mem, the shin, and lamed, and that is the Pirkei Avos. That is the 4 letters that spell out the words of v'yeda, no, ma, what, Shia Tashiv, what to answer, le'apikosis. You see? So then in the word shalom is already the yeshiva das, the clarity, the peace of mind. Tikkun zeh maklok shebelev lamed posek. So remedy this machlokas heart is studying the rulings of Jewish law. Shadi zeh zocher l'shalom, chayidei zeh zocher l'batul kashis l'belibo. Through this, a person attains both das and inner peace, and he will thereby merit to eliminate the questions in his heart. We'll just finish off now. Zochel is palo b'leiv of shalom, b'chinas b'chol avavcha, shnei yutzecha. That's why we started this. And then he merits to pray with his whole heart, with both hearts. The 2 bases become united in serving Hashem. The Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara, both serving Hashem, both inclinations. You shall love Hashem with your God with all your heart, b'chol avavcha. And as I said, this is fast. Amos brings us down as well. And that was, by the way, the level of Avinu, and he was the one who was getting up every morning with his Gabba Ka'ari on his Yetzer Hara and his Yetzer Tov, and he was able to serve Hashem b'chol avavcha. He's connected b'chol avavcha. I will praise you with an upright levav when I study your just laws. Studies the Rebbe's words there. So apparently it's a pasuk in Tehillim. I praise you with an upright levav when I study your just laws. See, it clarifies it. Torah, it heals us. It heals the bilbilim, the confusion. It gives us peace of mind. Everyone's out there looking for these mental solutions to their personal problems. The Torah there. The Torah's right there for all of us. However, studying the rulings of Jewish laws affect only dealing with questions whose answer the person can readily comprehend, whereas those questions for which there are no answers forbidden to explore, rather one must strengthen himself with Emunah. You see that? So he already gives you a boundary. Don't start getting busy with all these chakiras, all these complicated, over our ability parts of Torah that we're just going to feel, God forbid, yish, like giving up. So that's why it's very important. You should learn Torah, chafetz liba, that your heart desires, that you understand, you get closer to Hashem through it. Obviously, you can steig a little bit and push yourself, but the goal is to keep yourself in a state of strong emunah. That's the eitzah from Rabbi Nachman, and not to veer off and Rabbi Nosson, not to veer off too much into all these kushiyas, all these very deep philosophical, the questions that could lead you to, God forbid, to go out of your mind or out of the realm of Emunah, God forbid. So we'll just say one more line here. And when a person has complete Emunah, free of all the questions and doubts, his eating has the ability to bring about a yichud between Kodesh Baruch and the Shechina. Since food is spiritually refined and elevated through Emunah. So by the time we learn next week, we'll already had Tu B'Shvat. So it's a good way to end on this, that we should be zoched, the Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life should come alive in our homes, in our hearts, and that we'll be able to eat the peiros from the trees. That we'll eat them, Be'ez Hashem, with Emunah and with a yichud, and we'll bring a yich between the Shechina and Hashem. Every time you're saying the Shem Havaya and Melech HaOlam, the King of the world, Brei Priya Eitz, or all the different brachas, and we're bringing down. Brei Priya is also Gematria Priyates Hoda, so we get to daven for our esrog, and the esrog is connected to heart. So Tu B'Shvat is a big tikkun of the heart level. The esrog and the heart level is all connected, and we should daven for a pure, beautiful Lev Tahor Bar Lehim Ruach Nachon Chadesh B'Kirbi, a beautiful heart that's renewed and is focused on Tali Beinu L'Avdech Be'emes, with the Torah and the Kedusha. And Be'ez Hashem, with that we'll have all the Emunah, all the Shefa and Bracha and Tova that we need of Chodesh Shvat and Vaita Be'ez Hashem B'Mehei V'Imenu. Amen. Thank you for learning, and have a beautiful Shabbat Shira. I'm going to be in Beit Shemesh, but Be'ez Hashem, next week we'll hop around. Monday night I'm going to be going to Tel Aviv, but if we learn earlier, it shouldn't be a problem, that we can still learn, Be'ez Hashem. Because we've got Gedalia's event, Gedalia speaking Tel Aviv Monday night. Yeah, and then Thursday night next week. Thursday night is the Yerushalayim, and then Sunday is going to be Efrat. Amazing. Yerushalayim and Efrat, amazing. Yes, thank you.